Welcome to the Tarot Tapestry, a weaving of self-discovery, where three tarot mavens put their heads and hearts together to offer their wisdom and insights about the tarot. We hope that you find this helpful in your personal journey to self-discovery and growth.
Join us as we explore ways to use tarot for self-reflection and self-correction.
Together, we'll discover new ways to use tarot to weave threads of understanding into the tapestry of your life.
Hey everyone, welcome to Tarot Tapestry. Today we're going to dive into the 6's and 7's and focus on how the themes in the Major Arcana cards can influence our understanding of their numerologically matching pip cards in the Minor Arcana. I said those words without tripping. I'm so proud of myself.
Yay!
So in this episode, we're the 6's and 7's from each suit, and we'll pair them with their Major Arcana cards, the Lovers and the Devil, for deepening our understanding of the 6's, and the Chariot and the Tower for working with the 7's. And since each Major Arcana card gets its own episode, I'm not going to get super detailed in talking about those. And I just want to give a quick rundown of the themes I feel that they kind of all have in common. So the biggest thing that I feel these numbers have in common in the tarot are the 6's and the 7's both show choices that we make. And in the 6's, there's somebody with nobody in any of the 6's is alone. There are at least two people in every card in the 6's, sometimes three. So when I think about the 6's, I think of choices that you make in relation to other people or other situations in your life. And then in the 7's, everyone is pretty much alone in the 7's. So I feel like these choices are choices that pretty much only affect us until we avoid putting them off long enough to get to the tower where the tower falls. And that usually comes down and takes collateral damage. And you can see that in the RWS imagery because there are two people like falling out of the tower down to the ground. So what I thought it would be interesting, we can give it a shot, and if nobody likes it, we never have to do it again, is to split up the cards, take out all the 6's and all the 7's of each suit, along with those four Major Arcana cards. And then we will each, as we pull cards, we'll decide, like if we pull a 6, we'll decide what we would say about that card if we put it in a spread with the Lovers, like what choice is being made, what advice would you give about the choice that's being made? And then do the same thing with the same card for the Devil. So I think Kate chose 6's and Linda has 7's, yeah?
Yes.
Do you want to go first, Kate, or do you want me to like pull one and give an example of what I'm thinking? Or
I'm going to go with the flow, Angie, and I'm going to give it a try.
okay.
So for the Lovers, the first card that's on my pile right now is the 6 of Pentacles. So I'm just going to go with it, with the 6 of Pentacles. So when I was doing some research on the 6 of Pentacles, I see the 6's as one of the key words for me is balance, right? So if we think about the 5's, there was a lot of struggle in all of the 5's, and I see the 6's as a progress, right? So we've gone from struggle to now kind of finding and maintaining our balance. And if I look at the Lovers, I do see the Lovers as choices. And then pairing that with the 6 of Pentacles, it's like you have choices to make to help in your relationships, in making sure that you have, like, that you are being fair in your relationships, that you're being supportive, that there is a positive exchange of anything in your relationships, that I'm not only thinking about me, but I'm also thinking about my partner. If my partner is talking to me, I am listening to what they're saying, so it's sort of also looking at it like, I want to be for my partner what I want my partner to be for me. I want to be able to give, and I'm hoping that I would be receiving the same kind of thing. So I will always think like, how is it that I want to be? And that's kind of how I would address certain things. And, I would hope that my partner would be able to do the same in return. And I do know sometimes that's not always the case. But what I have been learning a lot about, like, intentions, and it's so funny that we're talking about this, and I might go off on a little bit of a tangent, and I'm sorry, is I've been listening to a woman called Lynn McTaggart, and I think I mentioned her maybe in another one of our episodes. And she is heavily involved in group intention settings. And she has done like research with it. And she has a major thing called the power of eight, where you have 8 people in a group and they do these intentions. And she talks about how when you are doing these intentions, and say you are doing it to heal a friend or somebody that you know, that as you are giving, as you are setting your attention, opening your heart, sending out your energy, you are also receiving that back. So whatever you're putting out there, it's coming back to you. And if I think about the 6 of Pentacles with the Lovers, that's what it is. I get back what I put out there. Yeah, that was pretty
I
much it.
love talking about it like that. It's you don't want anything for yourself that you don't also want everyone else to have. And I think that is lovely. Now, what would you say about it if you put it into a spread with the devil?
With the Devil, I think sometimes things that we hold on to about maybe our triggers, or things that can really upset us by maybe how we perceive our partner to talk to us, or how we perceive what the other person might be saying or doing. Basically, that's our perception, and we can be triggered by that, and it can make us react or feel in a certain way. So when I look at the 6 of Pentacles and the Devil together, it's almost like, how am I contributing to maybe some of the issues or the problems in the relationships? What am I maybe holding on too much to, and not able to let go of, in order, to keep maybe an open communication, or not to take maybe what somebody is saying to heart, and think about it before I react. I'm
Very,
going to go with that.
very cool. Okay, Linda, you're on the spot now. Which 7 did you pull?
I picked the 7 of Wands, and well, to me, the 7s are kind of they're a little bit fraught sometimes, but I think also that's part of the maturing process. I think there's in the 7s there's some inner work that you have to do. There's some self-reflection and maybe a little struggle there. But the 7 of Wands to me is kind of like I call it the stand your ground card, because the person is kind of up on a little bit of a higher ground. He's got the wand in front of himself, sort of like in a defensive pose. And I'm using the RWS, so you don't see other people, but you see those 6 other wands that are like sort of coming at them. So there are opportunities there. You could say that this is an opportunity for you to defend your position or the things that you believe in, but it's also an opportunity for persuasion. So you may not have to fight these other wands. Maybe you can, do something to get them on your side. And so you have a bigger, stronger team. And that to me relates to the Chariot, because you have to kind of collect these opposing forces when you drive a chariot or a team of animals, whether it's horses or sphinxes or whatever it is. You have to you have to get them together to go in their traces in the same direction, or else you're just gonna, you won't go anywhere, and they'll run off and you'll be left alone. So there's that whole power of persuasion and defending your position, and then maybe getting other people to be on your side. The opposite can happen when nobody wants to agree with you, and maybe your little house of cards or your stance collapses, just like the Tower. And so you haven't been able to persuade people, or maybe the argument against you is just so strong that you have like sort of an internal collapse and think, oh well, I thought this was something that I believed in, but oh my gosh, maybe I really don't, and it could lead to a crisis of belief or a crisis of self-confidence or whatever. But it can also, again, it's the opportunity to allow yourself to say, well, okay, I was wrong. Now let me get on this other side and see what we can do there. So I think that's those are two examples of how I would read those with those two cards.
I love that. Thank you so much. Okay, so I'm going to pull one now, and it could be a 6 or a 7. So, very. I have the 7 of Swords, which shows, the guy in his little red hat and his little red boots, sort of. It looks like he's sort of sneakily, stealthily escaping, maybe without notice, carrying these these 5 swords. And he's pretty much alone there, but in the way, way back distance, you can see it. Maybe, I don't know if they are people coming to stop him from stealing the swords, or maybe it's just that's where everyone is distracted, so I'm going to do my own thing over here. And I think in a spread with the Chariot, this denotes thinking carefully, like, because in the Chariot you get to pause a little bit. You've got all your squishy bits covered with armor in the RWS, and you're not moving quick, so you've got a moment to think about whether it is worth the risk of coloring outside the lines. That's kind of what I think of when I think of the 7 of Swords in not deceitful sort of way. I think that's more of a okay. If you're in the Chariot, if you're on a long ocean journey, let's say that if you're on a long ocean journey and you are the navigator, like you are in the Chariot, and you know where you're going and you know what the setting should be, and you accidentally do everything off by a half a degree. But it's okay because you notice when you're only like 100 miles into this 10,000-mile journey. So you make the corrections and you might be a little bit late, but you're going to get where you were going in the first place. But, and so maybe you can even make the correction and just like not mention the mistake. It's only you. You're the only one who knows what happened. And that's how I would read the Chariot. You notice a mistake, you fix it, everything's fine. But if you decide that you're just too embarrassed, you will just be absolutely humiliated if you even admit that you did a half a degree. It's not guaranteed that you're going to get somewhere bad, but over 10,000 miles, that half a degree is going to put you.
You won't get to where you thought you were going to go.
Yeah, from where you thought you were going.
By a long shot.
It's okay if you're the only one on the boat and you're, that spontaneous type of person. But if there are other people on the boat, like, did you just accidentally kidnap a cruise ship full of people and get them, chances are they're going to be upset that they didn't get where they thought they were going. And that can be an example of like the collateral damage of the tower falling. And now you're really screwed. Like if you had just said, whoopsie, but instead you just tried to like sneak away and put all those extra swords in the closet.
I was going to Jamaica, but I ended up in Cuba.
Exactly. Little bit different. So that's how I would read the 7 of Swords with the Chariot and with the Tower. So, okay, Kate, you're next.
Yeah, so I am going to go with the 6 of Swords. And in my, because I know earlier you were talking about how in the Rider-Waite, all of the 6's, there are 2 people. In this deck, which is the Good Fortune Tarot, there's only 1 person. And he's, they have swords that are in the ocean, and he is walking across the swords. And I was thinking about this card with the Lovers and thinking of the Lovers as choices. And for me, the 6 of Swords is about like you're transitioning to a different place in your life. And I don't mean just a physical location. but it has to do with our um like our thinking, right? Because the swords is all about our intellect, our thinking, our mental processing of stuff. So I am transitioning. I am moving from one place in thinking about something, and I'm moving on to something else. And that's like a choice that I'm making.
Changing your
And
mindset about something, you mean?
like changing your mindset about something, right? And it can even be if you look at the lovers, because I also see the lovers um, as a relationship, right? Whether that relationship be with a lover or a friend or somebody, I do see that connection there with that, as well as just different choices that you make in your life. But if we say choices in our relationships, there are certain times where we may have to make a choice that maybe we're not necessarily very fond about, but we need to do it because it's part of our healing process. Right. So when we make choices all the time, sometimes we don't even realize the amount of choices that we're making. And in this case, with the Six of Swords and the lovers together, it's sort of like I am making a choice to transition to either another way of thinking. I'm going to leave the relationship, or I'm going to approach the relationship in a different way, all um, because of a healing process, something that I need to do. And I think if you think about relationships in general, that if you're with somebody, and I'll just go with a romantic relationship, like, husband and wife, if you're with somebody long enough, you have to make adjustments in your relationships because things change all the time, right? Times change, we change. So you have to make adjustments, and you have to go from the kind of relationship that maybe you had 10 years ago might be different 10 years later because you have children and other events that are occurring. So it's a matter of, and they may be issues because I am a person that has a past, and I may bring my past into my relationship, and maybe I'm going through some healing, and I have to move from one way of thinking into another way of thinking as part of my healing. So it's just this process of transitions and healings throughout a relationship, and the choices that you make in regard to those transitions that will help with your healing. That's what I'm going with. And
That's
Angie, you're okay.
so
You're
good. I fixed it. I saw. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's really good. I like that. And even though there's only one person there in that card, in the imagery on that card, I like that you put it in the context of a relationship. So what would you say about that card if it was in a spread with the devil?
I think with the devil regarding your transitions and your healing, because those are the two words that are sticking in my head. It's I need, in order for me to transition and heal, I need to be able to release some attachments to things. I need to do some shadow work. I need to really look at what might be holding me back from moving on, from transitioning, from healing, right? Like we have, like there's so much in our lives that we can heal from, or that we can work on. Some things are easier to kind of like let go of and say, okay, I can do this, and then other things might have a stronger hold on us. So that's what I just see the sixes as being, what am I mentally ready to let go of right now, and how will letting that go, what kind of healing will come out about that, and maybe I'm not ready to let something go. Maybe I just don't have the the capacity mentally to deal with this one thing. So I'm just going to have to leave it there for now, but I can work on something else. And then hopefully as time goes on, I might be able to go back to that one thing that I had such difficulty letting go of. And I'll be able to work on it, and then I'll experience that healing afterwards.
I think too, with them tiptoeing on the swords through the ocean, you said that's kind of like
Yeah.
walking on eggshells, maybe to keep the peace in a relationship. And yeah,
Yes.
I love that you talked about having needing to do some shadow work to look at why maybe why you're doing that in that and like what you can change so you stop it. That is
I like what you
excellent.
said about the tiptoeing, because that's on both parts. Like if you're in a
Yeah.
relationship, right? Me tiptoeing through because I don't want to deal with something, and then your partner having to tiptoe around you because they're afraid that
Yeah.
they might like say or do something that's going to
Mhm.
set you off or something. Yeah.
Totally. Okay, Linda, what's your next card?
Okay, I picked the Seven of Cups, and this is choice personified. Um, Maybe to the extent of overwhelmment because there's so many things in those cups, and one of which is covered up with a little cloth. To me, it looks like a big mushroom, but it's covered up with cloth. And I think I was just thinking about the Chariot and with this because it also has an element of fantasizing or daydreaming and kind of getting lost in those things where you might be sure you have a lot of options, but when you just sit and think, oh, well, this one would be great, or maybe I could do so, and you just get lost in those thoughts and those what ifs or possibilities, you don't really get anything done. And that can distract you, from the direction that you're trying to go in as you drive your chariot. And I will tell you, on Tuesday, I had a bunch of errands to run, and Pueblo, the Arkansas River runs through Pueblo. So there are, to get from one side of town to the other, you have to go over bridges. Um, and I was running errands. I had a bunch of stuff to do. And, when you live in a place for a long time, you kind of just go, your body kind of takes over and you drive. And so I was going over the bridge and I was going to I turned the corner to go because I was going to the library to pick up tax forms and all this, just not thinking about much of anything, as you just drive through your town that you've lived in for a long time. And so I turned the corner, and as I turn the corner, I get up to there's this one little gas station on this, and then there's a street. And right before I get to that intersection, between two cars, a deer jumps out, and then another one comes out right
Yeah.
behind it.
Ay,
And
ay, ay.
in the middle of the day, it's like 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the morning. I slam on my brakes, miss the deer by about 6 inches as it hops into the median, because this was a street, a wide street that has a median that runs down with trees and stuff. It's a really nice street. And so then I kind of slowly moved on. And as I looked in my rearview mirror, about 8 more deer came through those cars and went on.
Oh my gosh.
Jeez.
If I had really been sort of daydreaming or whatever, I might not have a car now, you
We
know?
might not have a Linda now if you had been
Well,
paying
yeah.
attention.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I wasn't going fast because I had just turned the corner, but I was getting ready to speed up, when this happened. And I was like, whoa. So that kind of made me think of this. Like when you're thinking about all these things and kind of distracting yourself with daydreams, it's almost like texting and driving.
Yeah.
Your thoughts are elsewhere from where your physical actions are going, and it can really hinder you staying on the path that you need to stay on. So that's kind of how I would interpret that, and kind of almost the same thing with the tower, except that with the tower collapsing, you may just have to make a choice and go with it, and deal with the fallout later, because it's just everything is just up in the air, and literally up in the air, and you just have to pick something and say, okay, well, I'm going to go with this way and keep going until you get away from the rubble, and then maybe you can decide if that was the right choice or not. But yeah, so those are my cards for that, or my interpretations for that.
Very cool. I can also see like the Seven of Cups in the tower being you waited too long to pick something, so
Yeah, and
something
so
got
now
picked for you.
you just get potluck. You get potluck because
Exactly.
things exploded.
Right. Okay, I pulled the Six of Cups for my next card, and this is about kind of like childhood memories and how you feel about it. And I think like in the lovers card, talking about choices or making choices in relation to other people in the childhood realm can be with the lovers card being very very kind and talking about things that you both enjoyed as in the way back days, whether it's as children or in the past, sweet memories of a budding relationship, or when we met in fourth grade, or and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And I think, though, in a spread with the devil card, this can be sort of you might have somebody in this relationship who uh, when they talk about their childhood is just like, everything's fine, it's fine, it was fine, everything was fine. Because maybe you have an explosive parent or an immature parent, or sometimes it can be like, even with siblings, especially if there's a big age gap between the two siblings, you basically have two different sets of parents, and one of them has a great time and the other one maybe doesn't. And this is insisting that you follow the narrative that I want, you know, about my childhood, even though we did not
Oh
have
yeah,
the same
when
sort of.
my siblings and I get together, which we don't do anymore, but when we did, it was like there would be an event, and it would be like four separate novels. You're reading four different novels for the same
At the
event.
same time, or
Yeah.
you're talking really to anybody when they just it's this is kind of the, when you say I'm estranged from my parents or my mom or what, this is the, oh, but come on, that's your mom or that's your dad, or you can't, that's where it's kind of the vibe I would get with that in a reading with the devil of, when we're talking about choices in relation to other people. Like, if you're
Yeah.
making the choice to be, I see, if I put this down and we're like, oh, nice childhood, and then I put the devil down, I'm going to ask my querent or my seeker,
Was it really? Was it
everything
really?
okay? Are you having to like agree to things that
Yeah.
don't feel true to you just to kind of keep everybody from, throwing fits or
Mhm.
slamming doors? So.
Yeah.
And so it looks like, Kate, we're down to the last two cards, you guys. We have the Six of Wands left for Kate, and then Linda will have the Seven of Pentacles. And then we can
I
just tab.
I like ending with the Six of Wands because, the Six of Wands is really about, celebrating all of your achievements, grand or small, and then the confidence, that inner confidence that you build as make these achievements and you recognize these achievements and you celebrate these achievements. Like, I think that's a really big part of it. And when I think about the lovers, um, it's almost like that celebration in your relationship of how much like you've changed over time, and how you have, dealt with issues that have gone on in your relationship, how you've overcome problems, how you have transitioned. Like, if you go back to the Six of Swords, like how you've transitioned and how you've healed and how that has benefited your relationship. And now you're like celebrating it. Because there's like so much that goes on in relationships, and sometimes things work out and you can resolve something, and then sometimes you can't, and it's okay if you can't, and you just learn to deal with that. But it's important, I think, for both people to kind of like recognize the achievements that were made and celebrate them, because they're huge, especially if you're thinking about, like a romantic relationship. Overcoming those problems is huge. It's big, and then it just like it lifts this weight off of you, and you just become freer. And then when I think of the devil, I think of it in a positive spin, like, I released it. Hallelujah. It's God. I'm not attached to it anymore. I finally fucking let it go. Like, it's like I want to go out and I want to tell the world. I want to, shout it at the, on the top of a mountain and then say, oh, I finally let it go. That's how I feel about it, and I feel, and I think it's my own personal experience, from my sobriety, is being able to kind of like
Yeah.
detach from that particular attachment and just say, like, fuck yeah, I did it.
Yeah.
And the confidence that it gives you to now transition that to maybe another kind of attachment that you have to something that's not, that's not working out in your best interest, so yeah,
I
that's
love
what
that,
I think.
especially with the lovers and the celebration of the lovers. It's kind of like, your partner or your friends or your community is like, yeah, go you, good job. And with that devil card and the six, it is really more of a personal kind of, I did this, I did it, I
Yeah.
I made it go away. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. Okay, Linda.
Okay, Mr. Seven of Pentacles. So the young man or the person in the card is taking a break or taking a pause. He's kind of leaning on a hoe or a rake or something, and then there's a bush with pentacles, the seven pentacles. And again, it's going to depend on where a card lands in a reading, obviously, but this has a lot to do with sort of evaluating where you are, evaluating the progress that you've made. You have planted some seeds, you've done some effort, and now you're kind of seeing, oh, my bush is growing, my things are blooming, and now I need to figure out what I'm going to do next. There's also the possibility here that maybe these pentacles are not developing as quickly as this person has hoped. So there's that potential of possible delay, or looking back at the effort thinking, well, maybe I should have put a little more fertilizer here, maybe should have put some
Mm,
shade cloth, whatever, just tweaked it a little bit. And I think in relation to the Chariot, that's just kind of possibly a reminder to sort of evaluate, look at your course, do any course corrections that you need to do that, to make sure you stay in the direction that you want to go. And if things are blooming well and the weather is fair, maybe you just keep going in that direction, and that'll get you there. The other thing is, there's an understanding that sometimes you can speculate, and sometimes you can maybe do some things with the things that you've invested in to maybe take some shortcuts, but shortcuts don't always work. And that's what I would look at maybe at the Tower, is that, yeah, you can maybe skip a step here, skip a step there, and hope that it'll come out. But really, what's going to get you the results, maybe not as quickly as you hope, but with a lot more certainty, is that you just keep on doing the hard work and keep on doing what works, rather than taking a chance and then having it all fall apart. So
that's like one of those go slow to go farther sorts of
right,
situations, especially when you're talking about pentacles, they tend to grow slower than.
right. What they call make haste slowly.
Exactly. Yeah. Like one of those, like the Seven of Swords is also to me is kind of like I'm the Seven of Swords, not the Seven of Pentacles, is also like a good reminder not to take too many shortcuts when it
Yeah,
comes like
because I like to say to people, because this guy is looking over his he's got all these swords and he's kind of looking over his shoulder like ha ha ha. And when you
Mhm.
think you're all confident, that's when you look over your shoulder and then you run into a wall,
Or
because
you drop the swords and cut your toes off,
exactly,
or
because you aren't paying attention. You think you've
yep,
got it all, but you're not paying attention to what your feet are doing, or you look back and
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. It's like a reminder to stand in your own integrity. Like
exactly.
sometimes you have to move outside the box, sometimes you have to do something a little bit roguish, maybe to get a job done right, but you
Yeah,
don't want that probably to
to
become
be
your
your
default setting.
standard procedure.
Yeah,
Exactly.
because that will eventually screw you up in a big way. So this was really fun, and I mean, there's so much more we can talk about when it comes to all of these cards, but I really love that we all got a chance to talk
Yeah,
about some of the
yeah, this was
cards
nice.
and the relationships with their majors. And I am the kind of person, I'm the kind of tarot reader who I don't usually do reversals, but this little exercise that I did, just I think because of the cards, like one, the lower ones are sort of like more chill cards,
Yeah,
nothing really bad is happening in them, and then the next higher major arcana are kind of scary cards, made me think this will be an interesting exercise, I think, to play with the rest of the deck too, to
Yeah.
maybe not necessarily with those particular cards, but to read them in a certain context, like from the context of the Lover's card is maybe the upright, and the Devil would be reversed.
Oh, that's an interesting idea.
And
Yeah,
the
that
same
definitely.
with the Chariot and the
Yeah.
Tower. Do you guys want to do that?
Uh-huh.
Maybe? Okay. I'm gonna shuffle and see. And I have all of the cards we already spoke about taken out of my deck. I went and held them out, but
Oh,
you don't.
you're going to do this again? Oh, you're
Yeah.
doing it now?
Yeah, I was just with like the rest of the deck.
Oh, okay. Well, I already put mine back in, but
Oh, wait.
Oh,
I'm so sorry. I'm a little slow. Can you just explain it to me? I'm just picking a card from the deck.
yeah, just pick a card from the deck.
Oh,
I
okay.
thought that with the way I was thinking about these, just sort of the way it worked out, with the like the Lovers and the Chariot, nothing really bad is happening in either of those cards, but the other two. So it kind of made me think more of maybe adding in reading reversals in my tarot practice and in the readings that I give. Because I usually don't. I try to kind of keep it
oh,
just sort of a well-rounded thing, but so okay. I pulled
so
the
what are we
Ten
doing?
of Wands reversed.
Oh, oh, are you reversing it on purpose or no?
It was just upside down when I pulled it.
Okay.
Usually I
Okay.
don't pay attention to that, but so just kind of generalizing more in a reversed, if I were to read this in a reversed manner, like the Ten of Wands reversed, the Ten of Wands upright is kind of a card of overwhelm.
Hmm.
So, I've got all these things, and maybe I won't take any help, or I won't ask for help, or help is being offered, and I'm like, no, these are my wands, and I'm going to do it all myself because you'll just do it wrong. I think reversed, I think upright, it's more of kind of a devil card of making this choice of this is my burden and it's mine, 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 and maybe I'm going to be a little bit of a martyr about it and sigh loudly and roll my eyes a lot. But I think when it's reversed, it's more kind of like making decisions, and that maybe you do say, "Gosh, this is very awkward. Could you just maybe even hold it for me for a minute while I catch my breath or rearrange my
Pull my
uh,
socks up.
yeah, pull my socks up, or you know, get the hair out of my eyes, have a drink of water." So yeah, just this little exercise, the way I did it was made me think of maybe adding in reversals, because it does kind of add a new dimension. Do you guys usually read reversals when you pull them, or do you just sort of try to do that?
I generally don't, but I did get I got Mary Greer's book of reversals, which I take with me a lot because it's a nice compact book that not only has the reversals, but it has the upright meaning too, and it's just the cards. She doesn't. It's not like all the other creative stuff that she has in the Tarot
Right.
for Yourself book, but it's just the card meanings.
Hmm.
And often I will just kind of incorporate that, maybe a sentence or two about the reversals in, depending on again, it depends on the context of
Hmm.
the reading and where the cards fall, because, the aspects are there,
Hmm.
even if the card is not upside down.
Hmm.
And so if it could be, depending on what it's next to or where it falls in the thing and what the person's issue is, that's just something that they can, more information that they can consider.
So do you want to pull
Yeah.
a card?
Pardon
Oh,
me?
I was just going to ask you guys if you wanted to just pull some random cards and talk about how you would interpret them upright and reversed, or like.
Yeah, I was just thinking about like what Linda was saying, and I don't normally pull reversals, and I have a tendency when I get my deck, I always check it to make sure they're all upright, and I think that just goes back from when I first started doing tarot. But what I have, like in all of my research and what I do for myself when I'm reading the cards is uh, asking questions, like
Hmm.
lots of questions, because you can get answers that may relate to the reversal of the card by asking questions. So depending on what the querent is asking, depending on the cards that are around it, the way that you direct the questions, kind of can get from the querent, like do we have some major issues going on here that you need to work on? Or are we looking at this maybe in a more positive way? For example, I just happen to have picked the Four of Pentacles, right?
Mhm.
So if I have the Four of Pentacles, like say with the Devil, even though the Four of Pentacles is not reversed, I can still ask questions like, are there things that you feel like you're holding on to and and you can't allow yourself to release them, or are you like, wanting to escape from something but feel like you can't do it, like you need to stay where you are? Or if you wanted to take it literally with money, do you feel like you're like holding on to your money and maybe you want to buy something but you feel like you can't do it? Or do you feel like you're having issues with money and that you have lack of money, like, just kind of like questions to like ask the queer and to kind of get some more information if it's really that I'm holding on to something that's going to be more of a negative thing for me. Or is it more of the positive thing? I have this money, I want to save it, I'm looking, to buy something, or I'm looking, to get this, and I'm trying to put my money together and I'm trying to, to save it. Or I'm trying to gather my resources so that I can, purchase this car that I want to get.
Yeah,
That's
and
kind
with
of what I was
travel, that
thinking.
could be like, I'm tempted to just go out and blow it all on yarn right now, or fabric, or new tarot
Yeah,
cards, or
exactly.
whatever
Exactly.
you want. But yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, I pulled the Eight of Pentacles. We had a lot of Pentacles today, in addition to the ones we chose. And I think that speaks to that too, because this is about, kind of honing your skills. And if he's made seven pentacles, he's working on the eighth pentacle. He's probably going to work on a couple more. He's sort of in the journeyman phase of, if you were your apprentice, a journeyman, a master, whatever, of a craft, or a job. And I think that that speaks to that, because at some point you're going to hit your peak of knowledge, experience, being able to do these things. And then, then what? It's like, are you going to start using new techniques of art or new techniques in business or whatever to maybe branch out? Or are you happy just doing that? And if you are, that's fine. But again, something could happen, a tower moment could happen, and then you would have to pick up. I mean, look at robots in manufacturing and AI, and people. I saw a thing the other day, a little meme that says it's not. Um, gosh, I can't even think of it, and it's not. This that's going to say you have to. What's going to save us is the ability to unlearn and relearn as technology and things evolve. You're going to have to accept that you're going to have to unlearn what you knew with this old stuff, relearn something new, and that's what's going to keep you on top of things. And I think the Eight of Pentacles with the Tower kind of speaks to that, because if you can't unlearn your old ways and learn new ways, you're just going to fall down with the Tower.
Yeah, the Eight
I
of
like
Pentacles
that.
reversed with the Tower,
Yeah.
I think, like refusing to add new tools to your tool,
Right.
but new ways of
Right.
doing things, new understandings.
Yeah.
You know.
It's like, no, I don't want to. I want to use my 10 key adding machine forever. I don't,
Yeah.
I don't want to do anything different. And,
Mhm.
and then of course, when, you have the hand punch, cash register that does not connect it to anything. And so when all the lights go out, we'll still be able to use that. But,
I'm
And
sorry,
it's funny because I
Catalina.
think that's like an issue that, and thinking of myself as getting older, like what you said, Linda, about the technology, you know, is very much on my mind all the time, because as we get older, and I see it in my parents, as we get older, we get very settled in our ways,
Hmm.
and we just want to keep doing things, and we wind up becoming fearful of trying something differently or learning something new because we think that we're not capable of doing it. for
Yeah, and
one,
see, that's
and
why
then
I'm
thinking like
actually
you don't need to do it. Like
I'm really
I've
grateful
managed
that
my life for 80 years. I don't need to do this.
yeah,
But you
but I'm
know what?
really grateful that I live with my grandson because he'll be doing something on his phone and I'm like, what's that? And he say, oh, it's this app or it's that thing, and I'm like, okay, what's in? He'll show me, and and so it's really interesting to live with someone who's that much younger and has a different perspective about that. But I just feel like our bodies can get creaky and get slow, and our joints can wear out or whatever. But if you can keep this flexible up here, your body might get tired, but you're not going to be old. I think if you're mentally young and you're mentally flexible and you're willing, I
Hmm.
think the big part is that you're willing to at least try something. That's what keeps you young.
Yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
absolutely.
This was really
Absolutely.
fun. I hope it
That's
was.
my pronouncement for today.
Yeah, I hope it was sort of. I sort of sprung this. Hey, I have this new idea on you guys when we
No,
met
it worked
today,
out
and
well.
I think it worked out pretty good. It was fun. I had
Yeah.
fun. I hope everybody listening had fun, and that you will get out your 6's and 7's and see what you think about what we
Don't be
said, and
afraid to be at 6's and 7's.
yeah, and do it
And
with different decks.
who actually remembers that phrase because we don't say it anymore.
I have heard it, but I don't know where it came from, and I don't say it a lot. It means being upset, doesn't it? Being
Kind
upset
of
about
being
something,
just being crossways,
overwhelmed.
kind of out of sorts, or
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, I guess that makes sense. I mean, we talked about the 6's and 7's being like kind of choice, and choices can be overwhelming.
Yeah.
And sometimes all of your choices are bad. Like in the devil card, it's not always as simple as throwing off a chain. Sometimes all the choices are bad, and you just have to
Pick the
decide
worst
how
one.
you're gonna.
Not be pick the better of the two,
Yeah,
the better of
exactly.
the worst.
The
And then
least
you
Yeah.
have
worst.
to go vote.
Right. Exactly. Well, yeah, that too. Well,
Oh my God.
see, I think that's all I have. That's all of my rambling for today. How about you, Kate? Do you have anything you want to?
I don't really. I have to say, you shocked me in wanting to change this up at the last minute, and part of me was like very nervous about it. I'm like, oh my God, I feel like I'm being put on the spot. What am I going to say? But again, that has nothing to do with you. It all has to do with me. And I feel like I can do a 6 of Wands and celebrate myself right now for, doing this and feeling a little bit confident that I was able to like
You were
you know
thinking on your feet. It was so much. It was
yeah,
so
pretty
cool.
much.
I thought
Yeah,
I thought
yeah,
everybody did so well for
yeah, it was
like, oh,
an interesting
Angie's gonna
way to
weird at
do
us
it.
today again.
Yeah,
I
I'm very
promise not
happy
to do
that we
that to
tried
you
this.
again for at least like another month. I won't be like attack ideas, 5 minutes before we start recording. But
All
yeah, the
right,
Just
well,
keeping us
I
honest,
hope.
Angie. You're just keeping us honest.
yeah, there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah, and you know what? Change is good, and it's good for our listeners too. We're gonna change it up a little bit. Um, yeah, so I hope did I just say readers?
No,
Our
you said
readers?
listeners.
No. Oh, excellent. Um, yeah, I hope our listeners do exactly what we just did. And I think it's like another way to really learn the cards. And and I like Angie, what you did was like you picked one like word to describe the lovers. Like you chose choice. That was your topic. And I think when you're a reader, like a beginner, right, who's learning tarot, you tend to want to like have all of those keywords in your head and
Yeah.
apply all of those keywords to the cards. And I think what you did was really interesting of just taking one of those key words and focusing, taking those, four minor cards and the two majors and just reading them with that one topic in mind, that one keyword. And I think you can really delve into and get a lot more meaning. And then maybe the next time you choose a different keyword, and
Yeah.
you do the same thing and you just start to build your knowledge that way.
I
Yeah, thought
think
it was
it's
a
a
great idea.
really fun way to see how the cards connect for you, because they will connect for me in a different way than they will connect for Kate or for Linda or for anyone listening.
Yeah.
And just doing this like kind of in a low I say low pressure because I knew it was coming, and you guys are like, "Ah," but you both were so fantastic. I mean, Linda reads cards professionally for people,
Yeah.
and Kate's a kindergarten teacher, so it's not like you can really surprise either one of them, probably. I think they're always pretty prepared for whatever life throws at them. But I just thought this was a really interesting way to also look at, and the reversal upright thing is a completely different topic, but that's just something that it sparked in my mind that I think I want to start doing with more of the deck is even if it shows up in a very positive way, how would I read this if it was showing up in a more shadowed way or a more shadow worky kind of way? Because I think practicing in low pressure situations makes you more prepared when you have a querent with you, or when you're trying to do a reading on something that maybe you're a little bit um, tense about. It gives you more confidence, shows you how everything is connected and how you can just pick one aspect of whatever you're looking at and ask yourself questions. That's another great thing about tarot, is it doesn't always just say yes, no, stop, go. It says, what about this? Have
What
you
about
thought about
this?
it this
Exactly.
way? And a lot of revelation can come to you just from being asked the right question that you've just never
Absolutely.
thought of before. So
Yep.
thank you so much
Absolutely. You know
for
what? I kind of see two kinds of episodes that we could go. We
yeah.
can do an episode on reversals and uprights, and an episode on totally we're lost, which went right out of my head.
It'll
You
come
said two
back.
things there as you were talking, and I can't remember the second one.
It'll come back at 3 o'clock in the morning.
Yep.
You can send us a message.
Found it. Found it.
Found it. There you go. All right, ladies. Well, you guys have a wonderful week, and we will see each other when we see each other.
Love it.
Have a good one.